All right, ladies and gentlemen, so I'm going to try not to be boastful in any way. I'm not going to try to gloat or parade around in my underpants with a cowboy hat on saying, I told you so, I told you so, I told you so. But we told you so. The attack on the crypto sector is here, and it looks like they're attacking on all fronts. Any kind of free market currency. We looked at the gold market today. Check out the video that we just put out about that. They're dumping the gold price, and the silver price went down in accordance with that. They've been doing that for many years, though, and the connection that we made from that to the crypto industry was that they don't want you to have control at all over a financial system which is independent of the banksters, independent of the elites. They want to stay in control of that. There's an old quote from like a Rothschild or something like that. And it says, "Give me control over the money, and I care not who makes its laws." You know why? Because if you have control over the money, you have control over everything. Especially if you aren't part of a nation with moral values and principles which are transcendent, above human desires and carnal needs and orientations. But they're not going to give that up. They're not going to give up this control. And this is what we've been talking about ever since I started the channel. They are going to make the move on crypto. They're making the move on gold and silver. They've been doing that for a long time, and they aren't going to stop until they have total leverage over the population. And they don't want at all any way for you to get out of this financial system, which is turning us all into slaves, turning us all into bondsmen. And crypto was advertised as the way that we could get out. And I looked at Bitcoin as being that vehicle for a very long time. I've since gotten completely out of Bitcoin, and we're going to go through that here. But yeah, we knew this was coming. We're not entirely disappointed because we're in the right positions. We're in privacy coins. We like privacy coins. We like gold and silver, the physical stuff, so that when the paper derivatives markets break, that will be great. And everything is private. And when you have private currency, you are outside of the control of these people who want to turn you into serfs, which is why we love Monero, which is why Monero is just infinitely better than Bitcoin. It's way more valuable than Bitcoin. I don't care what anybody says. I've looked into the Lightning Network. I've looked into the Liquid Network. It is a public transaction system. As far as I'm concerned, it's a surveillance system. Okay? Now, this would be great in a free market environment, but that's not the situation. That's not the situation we are in. We are under attack by some seriously evil people the world over. I mean, this battle in regards to the cryptocurrency side of things is only one side of this battlefield. There are many sides of this battlefield. We're being attacked on all fronts, and I only talk about one particular front, which is the cryptocurrency front. And us in the privacy coin community are trying to get people into this rearguard action, which is the rearguard action of Monero, Pirate Chain, Dero, and some people don't like those other cryptocurrencies. They like Monero the best. That's fine. I mean, we could debate about that later, but we want private currency that is outside of the system, because whatever they have access to, as far as your data, your information, it's at risk. It is at risk. Because you see PayPal entering the scene. You see some of these ledger companies getting hacked and personal information being divulged. And so it's not safe. It's a trap. It has been co-opted by the globalists. And we'll get into this in another video. But we're at war here. We're at war with the financial elites who want to have us be enslaved to their system. Okay? And as we said earlier this week, if they cannot get Bitcoin and these other public blockchains to do the work of harvesting taxes from the population, of surveilling the population, and of keeping the population in lockstep with their financial goals, aspirations, plans, and agendas. They will get rid of it through regulation, through excessive taxation. They're going to do it. They're going to disincentivize people from getting into Bitcoin and some of these major blockchains. And they can easily do that because a lot of the people in these cryptocurrencies don't care about freedom. I strongly believe that. I look at a lot of these people on Twitter who just tweet ceaselessly about Bitcoin, and I don't see much of any inclination of them wanting freedom. They want gains. They want gains. And are we going to sell out this opportunity we have to achieve financial freedom, true financial freedom, and to defeat the evil, satanic global financial system, which literally harvests people through quantitative easing, through money printing, which devalues their wages, which devalues the assets that they own, which devalues the currency that they store under their bed, which devalues the bonds that they hold to pass on to their grandkids, so that that inflation could then move into capital markets to further inflate the wealth of the rich? Are we going to allow that to happen? We need to pivot to privacy coins. We need to pivot to gold and silver. These are real money. And if we just continue to obsess over the gains, I don't think that we're going to make it. I don't know if we're going to make it. So that is just a couple comments to start out. We're going to go on a little victory lap. The crypto industry is continuing to cope with the reality that the globalists are after crypto. Furthermore, they still don't realize that the success of Bitcoin is the success of those same globalists, which is why mining it would be exempt if anything. Right, so we're going to go through this at a later date. I have so many videos I need to do. It's ridiculous, but they're coming out with infrastructure, and they're coming out with regulatory means by which mining pools will have to comply with certain blacklists, with certain standards of what can be mined and what can't be mined. As far as Bitcoin goes, there are many wallets which are on the blacklist for the U.S. government, and they can dictate to those pools, hey, you can't mine these coins. And if they're mined in an environmentally bad way, maybe from China, there could be further regulation, especially with these green people in Congress that says you can't mine those cryptocurrencies because we can't facilitate the transactions of people who just want to get rich off destroying our environment or something like that. Okay, this is real stuff. And with economies of scale, you're going to see ever more centralization. And you could see mining turn into something where you need to be an accredited investor in order to get involved, which is just another barrier of entry for people to get into the mining sector of Bitcoin. And they could make it that they totally control what can be transacted and what can't be transacted. Again, because Bitcoin is totally tracked and traced. So that's a concern. And so when I see CNBC pumping Bitcoin, Jack Dorsey pumping Bitcoin, Elon Musk, and some of these other globalists, that concerns me. That seriously concerns me. So here we go. And I just want to say, a lot of people in Bitcoin are well-meaning. They really do want freedom. And I have nothing against those particular people. I think they're just a little bit misguided, but I think that Bitcoin is a trap. I really do. I think it's a total trap, and a lot of people are going to find themselves in a lot of trouble. I don't care what you've gotten as far as gains. Our total civilization could be at stake. It already is based on everything that they're doing. But as far as us holding the line in this particular sector of the battlefield, it could be breached by these guys if we continue to follow the Bitcoin flag. I believe that. I'm going to make the call. The banksters have paid off at least one senator to not consent. If you don't know the situation, we talked about this in previous videos. I'm going to link them up there, or over there, whatever. Okay, so there was a couple amendments which were proposed to specify the language in this infrastructure bill, which basically, without any specification, would have turned everybody into a broker. Okay, if you were just processing cryptocurrency transactions to somebody, if you are a miner, if you are a proof of staker, if you are running a node, if you are developing wallets that are just software or hardware, hard wallets, soft wallets, you would be considered a broker, as well as the exchanges, which are completely becoming centralized now with the Know Your Customer stuff and the AML, the anti-money laundering stuff. Everyone would have been considered a broker, which means you would have had to comply with impossible levels of regulation. You would have had to file a lot of stuff with the IRS. You would have had to pretty much engage in this Soviet-like system where everyone's reporting each other, everyone's reporting every transaction which happens. It would have made using the currency insanely difficult, clunky, inefficient, which Bitcoin already is. We'll talk about the Lightning Network another time, but it would just have added a lot more complication to using crypto. It would have been very detrimental to DeFi. And so these senators came to try to address that. And what happened? Well, instead of it being put up for a vote, Chuck Schumer, right, the Senate Majority Leader, according to Charles Hoskinson, the founder of Cardano, great guy. There you have it, folks. Chuck Schumer effed us all. It's one thing to disagree, but he didn't even let the senators vote on it. Right. And so what that means is then they would have to have unanimous consent, which means every single senator says yes to the provision. And I just knew. I'm like, yeah, nobody's going to allow that to happen. Treasury doesn't oppose now that it requires unanimous consent. If it doesn't pass, this is pure theatrics. It was always theatrics. They were never going to allow you to make this amendment in order to have crypto have a little bit more freedom and innovation and to actively work against the financial system that these people are trying to protect. That's why Janet Yellen, who is the former head of the Federal Reserve, now head of the Treasury Department, was lobbying people against the initial amendment, which would have put a lot of specification to make it so that only exchanges were brokers, not everybody else that we mentioned earlier. And so, yes, it was always theatrics. They were never going to allow these developments to occur, these specifications to happen. And in fact, I said this in earlier videos. I said the fact that the crypto industry is freaking out about this just incentivizes and emboldens them that much more to pass it how it is. And that's exactly what happened. Hope to be proved wrong, but not going to be naive if it doesn't. Right, so this guy was already on board. He's already checked into what was happening. Looks like for now at least, the original crypto language is what will pass in the Senate. In a defeat for crypto advocates, industry, many senators who wanted tighter restrictions on new tax reporting requirements for crypto. Am I still recording? Yeah, so big L's. The Senate has failed to pass the bipartisan compromise on a crypto tax provision. And the bad news is that the amendment did not receive unanimous consent, so it will not make it into the bill. Here's the good news. We're not giving up. Again, more coping. Next stop, and I respect that they're not giving up. They're putting up a fight. I understand this, and I sympathize a lot, but you guys know my position on this. Next stop is the House, where we can try to get a whole new amendment from scratch that can address all of our concerns. Well, here is the issue with that, my friend. Nancy Pelosi is the House Minority Leader. Paul Pelosi is her corrupt husband. I'm pretty sure her fifth husband, by the way. And he is somebody who owns and operates Financial Leasing Services, Inc., a San Francisco-based real estate and venture capital investment and consulting firm. So he's part of the bankster crowd. You think that Nancy Pelosi, who's been in Congress for like 50 years, and this guy are going to conspire and rally to the side of crypto? No. That's not what's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. It's not what's going to happen. So, what is the response to this? Looks like the market is kind of shrugging this off. I don't know why. I mean, it could be because the provisions don't kick in until 2023, and a lot of people are kind of reasoning this out, saying that, well, a lot of these companies will just move overseas. Great job. But here's the problem with that. And we went through this in more detail in our first video. But we're going to talk a little bit about FATCA so you guys understand why, if they pass this bill, it's a global issue. Okay? This is from Interactive Brokers. The Fatca Act represents the United States' efforts to combat tax evasion and abuse by U.S. persons holding investments outside of the United States. The Act establishes a new set of tax information reporting and withholding procedures. While not expressly aimed at non-U.S. persons, the regulations do impose withholding taxes on certain non-U.S. entities that decline to disclose their U.S. investors or account holders. Now, if you are off the system, the U.S. system, you're not a U.S. citizen, but you are maybe mining the crypto of people involved in the U.S., or you're involved in creating decentralized swaps or decentralized exchanges or any kind of service in the crypto industry which may allow for the exchange of these assets between people in the U.S. and not in the U.S., then you have to take account of all that. Even non-U.S. brokers need to do this. And if you don't do this, then you're subject to penalties. You could be kicked out of the entire U.S. market. Does FATCA affect non-U.S. accounts? Yes. FATCA requires foreign financial institutions, which is what you would be if you were a broker, which is everyone involved in cryptocurrency if they pass this bill, to furnish certain data directly to the IRS about any of their U.S. taxpayer accounts or foreign entity accounts in which U.S. taxpayers hold a certain level of ownership. So if somebody buys a crypto of a foreign crypto startup or project in order to stake or in order to just have leverage to or have exposure to price, those people in charge of that project may have to comply with FATCA. Now, all this is going to be talked out. The IRS is going to presumably offer guidance on this in the coming year or two. But this is concerning. And I imagine the language is kept loose in the original bill, and it's going to stay that way so that they could go after whoever it is that they want to. They can selectively apply and enforce the law against projects that they don't like. Okay? All U.S. non-persons and entities applying for and maintaining these accounts will continue to be required to fully disclose and identify the identity of their accounts. So, just more stuff on that. You can look more into all that. So, all of your stuff still needs to be reported to the IRS. So 1099s still need to be issued, which is one of the problems, because if you facilitate payment of more than $600, you got to furnish a 1099. You got to send that to the IRS and whoever it is that you're facilitating the payment for or paying. So those are problematic, right? So I just wanted to give this update, and we'll go full screen here, because I want you guys to know the direction that we're going in. And this is why, again, we're into privacy coins, we're into gold and silver. We want as little exposure to the financial system as possible. And when you have exposure to Bitcoin, especially if they roll out this ETF, which they're going to use to try to control the price and keep the price down and disincentivize people from being in it, I imagine, as they did with gold and silver, then that is going to be something which integrates it ever more into the financial system, which means you have that much more exposure to it, which isn't good, which gives them more leverage over you, which gives them more surveillance capacity over you, which again gives big tech and the enemies of civilization that much more leverage against you and control over you, which is what we don't want. We want freedom. We want our lives back. We want our civilization back. And it's because of the Fed that civilization in general has fallen the way it has. And just understand that we have fought wars for the dollar, okay? Like Muammar Gaddafi of Libya, he wanted to start using something called the gold dinar. And he was looking to transact a lot in euros. Saddam Hussein was looking to pivot more towards selling oil in euros instead of dollars. Look at what happened to both of those guys. We bombed the crap out of Libya. We bombed the crap out of Iraq. There's other stuff going on in Syria. I'm not sure if it was financial related or Israel related. I'm not sure. But, yeah, we will destroy civilization for the dollar. And they're not going to allow cryptocurrency to threaten the dollar either. So if they can't get it into its camp and use it for its own ends, the ends of evil, then they're going to try to come after it and destroy it. And that's what we're seeing now. So I don't have a lot of hope that the House is going to properly amend this to clarify the language or to protect, people who want to innovate in crypto. I don't think that's going to be the case. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm very pessimistic, which is why I have the positions that I have, and which is why I take the positions that we take on this channel generally. Some people may disagree. If you do disagree, please comment. I'd like to hear from you. But yeah, that's all I have to say for now. Just a little bit of an update for you guys. Again, this is Monero Matteo. Thank you for tuning in. So I have an Odyssey now. So in case something happens with YouTube, I have all my videos on there. Please go follow me on Odyssey, Gab, Twitter, same name, Monero Matteo. And I've got my donation links below. We only accept Monero, Pirate Chain, and Dero because those are the best private currencies that I know of. And if you've got other recommendations, please let me know. So I hope you guys have a lovely night, and God bless.